Welcome to our Transforming Assessment website, where we're looking at new ways in which we can set assessment tasks for students that actually move them beyond the simple recall and where they engage much more intensely with either tools or with concepts or ideas and to give us responses that are at a higher level. So the examples we're going to have a look at in this particular session are some of the discipline-based examples. We will go and have a look at the variety that we have there. You can see we've covered a reasonable number of the broad disciplines. The one we'll have a look at today is in physics and engineering, and we'll see what we mean by interactive e-assessment and what do we mean by setting tool-based assessment tasks for students. What we have in this section are a series of questions and options inside a learning management system. In this case, it's Moodle. It doesn't matter that it's Moodle. This could have been Blackboard, it could have been Sakai, it could have been any of the common learning management systems that you would be familiar with. And what we've done is set up some examples showing how you can use those tools inside typical questions in a normal learning management system. So there's no extra technology here, there's no extra tools that we've learned how to use. This is simply using existing tools. So your existing learning management system with a tool that you can get off the internet. In this particular case, we're going to look at questions to do with motion. We will go to the preview. This is what a student would see if they were looking at these particular questions. We've got some numeric ones here. I'm going to go down to some choice questions and see a typical example that we have here. So we've got a question. You can see we've got a hypertext link here to something, and we'll talk a bit more about that, about what that something is. The questions are written as matching questions, so it's matching statements that we have here. So there's 3 statements here, and there's 3 choices that the students would pick, and they have to match obviously the choice on the right hand side with the issue on the left hand side. But what we've done here is we've added an additional feature. So rather than just having students memorize a particular concept and then having to reproduce it, what we're doing here is saying we can give students a tool that they can use inside the question. So here we simply have a hypertext link. When the student clicks on that, a second window opens. So we have 2 windows open now. We have the original window, which has still got the question and the link that we have there, and then the tool, which is now opening up. In this particular case, this is a Java applet. So a Java applet is just a small application that someone's written that does a specific task. In this case, it's a model of centripetal force. So this is a simulation. But students, of course, have got some options. So they can look at the carousel as it is there. They can look at the carousel with the forces included. They can look at just a sketch without the actual carousel. And they can look at the numerical values that are associated with what's going on in this carousel. What the students can also do is they can change some of the values here. And I'll just change this particular one. And you can see that the simulation changes in response to the values that we change over here. So what's the advantage of doing this? What's the advantage of putting this type of tool inside a question? Well, what we can do is we can now ask conceptual questions of students. This is not just simple recall. We can now get them to actually run a simulation or an experiment. We can also ask them nested questions. So we could ask a series of questions based on them using the tool to be able to generate their responses. Sometimes those responses might be numeric responses, and that's what the example above is. So there's a numeric response required for this one, so a value, a calculation that they would actually do using the tool, or in this case a more conceptual type of question. So how did we incorporate that link that we have inside there? So let's have a look behind the question. So this is what the teacher would be able to see, not the student. The student would obviously just see what we were showing there, the actual question itself. Now, behind the actual question, there's obviously some scaffolding that's associated with generating the question. So here, this is just the Moodle interface for what the question would look like. In terms of writing the question, you can see we've just put plain text in here. And what I can do is look at that in HTML. So that's the exact same question, but just looking at the hypertext markup language that's behind that question, and we can see that that link that we put in is actually referring to a tool that sits somewhere on a server. In this particular case, the server is sitting on, the the tool is sitting on our server, the Transforming Assessment website, and it's sitting in this particular folder here, and the page that it's bringing up, the HTML page, is this particular one here called the model of the carousel applet. So that's what you would have to put on a server within your institution. There's one option. It could be sitting somewhere outside your institution. From the student's perspective, it doesn't matter. All we've done is linked to a particular tool. And if we wanted to link some of the other text here, we could just do as I'm doing here. We could just highlight the text, and in this case we click on the little link symbol here, which inserts a web link into that particular page. So we could put down the web link here, and in our case, remember, we have it open in a new window, or we could have it open up in the same frame, so it will be on the same page that the students will be looking at. So we could have it in the same frame or the same window. We tend to choose a new window or a new tab for the student, because it's much easier if the student can toggle between the two. So that's really all there is to adding that hypertext link and having the student have access to a particular tool.